My name is Nataliya Moon. I am a certified functional medicine health coach. Let's talk about sleep and top reasons for disrupted sleep. Now, this topic is dear to my heart because I have dealt with disrupted sleep. In fact, at some point it got so bad, I've been experiencing insomnia. And I'd say that was kind of the last drop that made me look more proactively for answers, and I did a lot of research when it comes to sleep. Now, it's not so simple, and there could be a number of things that can disrupt your sleep. But let's start with the low-hanging fruit. Now, when it comes to sleep, I think we have to start with the obvious things that are within our control, and that's sleep hygiene. Now, in the past, I thought that I was a night owl. And when I had my daughter, when my daughter was just a baby, I think a lot of mothers can relate to that. You put your child to bed and then you just plop on the couch, and either I would start scrolling on my phone, just mindlessly catching up, or shopping on Amazon, or I would start watching something on Netflix. And I consider that my relaxation, my me time, even though I was exhausted. And I knew that the best thing for me would be to go to bed. But you know that feeling that once you're in the couch with a phone in your hand, or you're watching a show, the effort to put that phone away or to turn off Netflix and think, okay, now I will get up and go get ready to put myself to bed, seems like an enormous effort, right? And so you sit there on the couch and you keep just procrastinating, and the time is ticking, and maybe now it's already 11 p.m. or it's getting close to 12 a.m. And in fact, in the past, that wasn't unusual for me to go to bed that late, to go to bed around midnight. And, I thought, well, maybe I'll sleep until 8 and I will still get my 8 hours of sleep. But the thing is that I would have such a hard time waking up in the morning and just getting up and getting going. It would take time for me to get going. I've just felt sluggish, no energy in the morning. I remember my tiny daughter would wake up and come into my room to wake me up. And I would be like, just go watch your tablet. Mommy's gonna come in a little bit. Because I would be just so tired, and I couldn't just get out of bed. And that was my normal for a very long time. And when I thought that people can get up in the morning with energy, feeling like they are ready to tackle the day and all the tasks, I thought that would be impossible for me. That was just something out of my reach. But then things changed as I started researching sleep and as I started working on my sleep hygiene habits about it. And perhaps the biggest change that I invested in the Oura Ring. Now I had Oura Ring for 2.5 years. In fact, it's at the point where it's in a way dying because it's not holding charge as long, and I have to charge it a lot more often, which is annoying, but I'm still doing it because I really enjoyed having it. I'm not sponsored with Oura Ring. I know there are now other rings on the market, such as the Ultra Human one, and I am a huge fan of this kind of devices because they can give you personalized data and be in a way like your personal sleep coach. And that's what it was for me, because I was able to look at my data and see clearly that if I get those 8 hours of sleep from maybe midnight until 8, that quality of sleep was not good compared to when I started actually slowly shifting my bedtime to earlier and earlier. And now I'm happy to report that I am not a night owl anymore. I thought that that was like my personality trait, something that was just how I was. Turns out you can retrain yourself. And now I can go to bed around 9 or 9:30. I think the latest for me is like 10:30. I mean, there are sometimes times where I will stay up late watching shows, but it's very rare because I see how that impacts my sleep. And so I was able to retrain myself. It did take time to do that. It's let's be honest, it's hard to go cold turkey. So it's likely that you will be shifting and pushing time, slowly. If you were going to bed around midnight, then try to shift it maybe by 30 minutes, see if that's manageable. And then I started developing other habits. One of them was setting the rule and like putting my phone away before bedtime. And so I would have a reminder on my phone that turn off your phone and put it away. Also a rule that the phone does not come into my bedroom. And I've been doing it for a long time now. So my phone stays somewhere else. It's not in my bedroom. Because sometimes if you can't fall asleep, then you reach for your phone and you want to start scrolling on your phone. Another thing that I started implementing is regulating my circadian rhythm. Now, another problem with just scrolling your phone or watching TV at night is exposing your eyes to that artificial blue light. And so I started dimming the lights in my house, just simulating sunset, signaling to my body that it's time to go to bed. Because as all creatures on this planet, we are in a way regulated by circadian rhythm and by light. And so I also started going on walks without my sunglasses. In the past, I thought that my eyes were super sensitive to light. But I actually rarely wear sunglasses right now. I do, but I make sure that I get my natural light exposure to my eyes. And so I go on walks without sunglasses. And I see a lot of people walking in the morning with the sunglasses on. And my recommendation, take those sunglasses off because you need that natural light exposure. That will help you fall asleep. And dimming the lights at night, that will help produce melatonin. So melatonin is a hormone of darkness that would helps us to fall asleep. Also, you can try and take some melatonin too and see if that helps. I've been taking some melatonin. I know that helps also regulate your circadian rhythm, especially when you travel and you're dealing with the jet lag. It can help you to regulate the circadian rhythm faster. So we talked about that. That's a big one. And another one is, how do you wake up? Do you need an alarm in order to wake up? Ideally, you will train yourself to wake up naturally. I also think that using alarms is a big stressor for our nervous system. In fact, many people, they would wake up, anticipate that alarm and wake up before that. So there are alarms that will wake you up with light. But otherwise, you can just, if there is light that is creeping from your window, that might be just enough for you to wake up in the morning. Otherwise, if you do make your room very dark and you can't wake up naturally, use that light alarm that simulates sunrise and see if that is enough for you to wake up. Now let's talk about blood glucose. This one is perhaps another very big reason why you can't either fall asleep or why you're waking up during the night. Now, the reason for not being able to fall asleep is likely when your blood glucose stays elevated. And the reason why you wake up during the night is likely hypoglycemia, is when your blood glucose drops too low, and then your body will release some cortisol, adrenaline, glucagon just to bring it up. And sometimes when you do wake up at night, you start thinking about things that you have to do, and that's when sometimes you can't fall asleep. Your mind starts racing, and sometimes you might not be able to fall asleep at all, or maybe you will be there for an hour and then eventually you will fall asleep. And so hypoglycemia is actually more common than many people think it is. And the way I know about it is because I've been using also what's called a continuous glucose monitor. And it's very interesting to compare the data and see patterns when it comes to blood glucose fluctuations and your sleep. And so having Oura Ring and continuous glucose monitor gave me a lot of insight. And so when people say eat at least 3 hours before going to bed, that is absolutely true, and I've seen how it plays out and how it impacts my sleep. In fact, when I would eat later, and especially if it would be carbohydrate heavy meal, or perhaps I will have dessert, or will have dessert later, that would often impact my sleep, and my deep sleep and my REM sleep and overall quality of sleep would not be as good. Versus when I eat a meal and my glucose goes up, but then it nicely goes down to the base level, and then it just stays more steady throughout the night. That's when I get the best scores with my Oura Ring in terms of sleep. Now, regulating your blood glucose takes a while, and it's really not only about dinner, it's also about breakfast, what you eat throughout the day. If you're not on the roller coaster of blood glucose fluctuations, and your breakfast will actually set the tone for the rest of the day. I know it took me a while to regulate my blood glucose, and I have to be cautious, because as everybody, I have days where I'll eat something, but then I also have expectations. I already know, and I take responsibility that yes, I did eat this meal. It's likely that my sleep will not be as good. And so it doesn't happen very often nowadays for me. Now, another thing is cortisol and stress, because that is definitely something that can affect your ability to fall asleep. Now, I know that I can get overstimulated easily, and that certain stimuli can raise my catecholamines, right? So adrenaline or raise my cortisol, and I will be feeling like I'm wired, my mind is racing, and I just can't calm down, and of course that would impact my ability to fall asleep. So I had to really protect that evening time, and I have some rules in place. I never watch news in the evening, and I wouldn't even watch debates in the evening. I would rewatch them in the morning, and so I just decide that if it's not something urgent, something that I can take action about right at this moment, it can wait until the morning. Same goes for very emotional, complicated relationship conversations. I would ask my husband, okay, can we talk about this in the morning? Because I really don't want to overstimulate myself, and then my sleep will be disrupted, and then that will impact the next day. Because when you don't sleep well, first you don't detox well, so your brain is detoxed, your lymphatic system is actually detoxes while we're sleeping. And then also when you're not sleeping well, you will feel more sluggish, you will have more cravings for sugar and carbohydrates. I've definitely noticed that. And so your ability to then deal with life stressors, or deal with whatever you have to address, those difficult conversations or situations that you might need to face. So sleep is the asset that I always try to protect. And so protecting that bedtime from overstimulation, perhaps for you that could be even like watching a certain kind of a movie that is maybe too scary or too emotional, being more careful with what you consume in terms of information, not only what you consume in terms of food. Okay, now let's move to your environment. Now, I'll admit, I did become kind of like a high maintenance sleeper. But I also say it's okay to be high maintenance if you're high performance. So if you know that you have to perform, if you need that creativity and drive, it's okay to invest in your sleep. What am I talking about? Now I'm talking about your environment in the bedroom. So I like my bedroom to be cool and dark. So I have an organic clean mattress, and same goes for my pillow. Also like 100% cotton bed sheets, and I like 100% cotton pajamas. And I'm very picky about that, also because I do tend to get hot, and so I want natural fibers that will keep me cool. And another thing that works magic for me and that I try to be very religious about is taking a shower before going to bed. I absolutely need to cool my core temperature in order to fall asleep. I've noticed the difference when I don't take a shower. It does oftentimes takes me longer to fall asleep. Now, people deal with different issues. For some people, it's they will have a hard time falling asleep, and other people will tend to wake up in the middle of the night. Now, my issue tends to be more with falling asleep. It often takes longer for me to do that, and so I did find some tricks that help me fall asleep easily that I've already talked about. But sometimes it does happen to me that I do wake up in the middle of the night. And most often that is due to those hypoglycemia episodes, or sometimes it's due to hormones. Now, that's another thing specifically for women. I do notice that that week before my period, my sleep becomes more disrupted. And again, I love Oura Ring also because I can track my cycle, and you will actually see on the Oura Ring that the first part of your cycle during that follicular phase, when the estrogen is climbing and will be the highest, is that your temperature is actually lower, and then during ovulation, about day 14, somewhere around midpoint of your cycle, the temperature switches up and it goes up, and it will stay elevated for the rest of the cycle. And that's when the progesterone is supposed to be the highest. Now, I already know that I've been kind of getting lower on progesterone. In fact, the progesterone is the hormone that women will start lose first as you start heading into perimenopause. But progesterone is also that calming hormone that will help you sleep better. In fact, women that go on hormone replacement therapy and take progesterone report that their sleep improves. But there are also natural ways of how you can support your progesterone without hormone replacement therapy. You can do seed cycling. Something that I've tried is taking Vitex, the second part of my cycle, and also taking GLA or borage oil during the second part of my cycle, and also reducing and focusing on reducing stress during that part of the cycle, because progesterone is the precursor for cortisol. So if you're stressed during that time, your body will prioritize cortisol and utilize progesterone to make it. And so all those things and balancing out your hormones can help with your sleep. Now, as you head into menopause, you start losing estrogen, and your estrogen becomes low, and that's when you will start experiencing also hot flashes that can be very disrupting. Again, you can look into bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I know some people buy those like pads, cooling pads that are, I know they're an investment. I did try a chili pad at some point. I did not like it. I know they probably improved it and it's much better now. But essentially, it's a bed cover that has tubes that have water in them. And you can also have it set up for both sides of the bed. So if you like it cooler than your partner, you can set it up that way. Now I know there is another system that is called Sleep, and I've heard very good things about it. And so that could be another thing that you can invest into if hot flashes is an issue. But again, many women do report feeling so much better on when they do hormone replacement therapy and start taking estrogen when during that phase of their life. Okay, so another thing that we're going to talk about, I know it's a lot, and that's why I said that sleep can be very complex. It's not just one thing, but we started with more manageable things, and then we're moving in complexity. Another thing is your gut microbiome. So sometimes you might have parasites, sometimes just pathogenic or opportunistic bacteria. And your gut microbiome can also play a role in your sleep. Again, like I'm thinking that everything in your body is interconnected, right? And so then we're talking also about your thyroid. So your thyroid is actually, I call thyroid the watchman on the tower, or some people will call it the canary in the coal mine, because it's so sensitive. It will be the first to sense danger, and it is in charge of the brake pedal. So it's going to slow down the metabolism. It can slow down motility, and it can downregulate your body temperature, so you might start feeling more cold just overall, or maybe you will have cold extremities. And so addressing those underlying symptoms, and I know I might be sounding like a broken record here because we're always talking about those root causes, underlying chronic inflammation. But as you worked on untangling and you know, undoing all those things, it will resolve your sleep. One of the big things that I've dealt with personally was mycotoxin illness, and so as I started detoxing, and honestly I had to do quite a bit of work. I worked on my gut, I worked on detox from mold mycotoxins, and then I regulated my blood glucose. All those things I feel in combination improved my sleep. But a good head start is what we talked about at the beginning, is a sleep hygiene. That sleep hygiene definitely gave me a leg up and was in of itself enough to boost my sleep and help me heal and recover. And all of the other work that I've done on my health, such as, you know, balancing my gut microbiome, that was just a bonus that improved it even further. So I know disrupted sleep can be so frustrating and in some cases even so debilitating because it can impact your life and your overall health in so many ways. And sometimes it can be very tricky to figure out what's going on. We talked about some things, and it's not even everything. There are more reasons that it can be disrupted. We didn't talk about serotonin, so some people might be waking up because they don't have enough serotonin. It has to do with methylation, and it has to do with genetic susceptibilities. So it can be complex, but don't get discouraged. I think that the 80% of people, they can improve their sleep just by working on sleep hygiene and things that are very much within your control. And then also regulating your blood glucose, not eating before bedtime, and then also managing your stress and not overstimulating yourself before bedtime. I think those are very foundational and very much within your reach. And then after that, if your sleep is still disrupted, you can investigate further, but don't give up because you definitely deserve to have a good night of sleep and waking up full of energy, ready to tackle the day and do all the things is definitely possible. I feel now this way. I never thought that I would. And it's very rewarding and it's great to feel this way, honestly. I hope that you will find answers and I hope that you will be able to connect the dots and regain your good quality sleep.